Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so if you haven't seen yesterday's video, link in the description, check it out. I talk about the exclusivity of contemporary steel professional model Rolexes and what that means for other brands and people's perception of those other brands. Now, in the comments section of that video, Naeem writes that he believes this shortage will result in people purchasing other brands. He believes that's, as he put it, a fact. Well, I think some people will and some people won't, and that's what I want to talk about in this video today. Now, I don't have any empirical data on what people are doing with their money now that they can't get a professional steel model Rolex, but according to Archie Luxury's sources, sales are not transferring to other brands, okay? Apparently people are not deciding, I can't get a sub, I'm just gonna go and get an Omega. Now, will some people? Yes. Will some people? No. And I wanna talk about who will and who won't, okay? First of all, you got the guy that is not really a watch guy. He's arrived at some place in his life, he's got a bit of money, and he thinks, you know, I'm gonna get a luxury watch. And for that type of person who's not a watch person, usually brand comes first. They think of the watch brand that really speaks to them as the luxury watch archetype. And for many people, for most people probably, that's Rolex. I mean, Rolex is a household name. And so that gentleman's gonna go to Rolex and he's gonna look at what they have and he's gonna walk out with something. It's probably gonna be something two-tone and probably something Datejust. And very likely this gentleman will not even realize there are other models available. He probably won't even know that there's such a thing as a GMT Master 2 or a sub. Now, if he's done a little bit of research, he may know that there is a sub and there is a GMT Master 2 and Explorer, and that these professional, more utilitarian watches exist. But because they're utilitarian, they might not speak to him in the same way. They don't have that ribbon of gold that just says luxury, I've made it. And so he might just off the bat not really even be interested in those models. But if he's done a little bit more research and he's looked at forums and he really knows the way and the popularity of these steel professional models, and he's faced with one, he might get it, because we've sort of arrived in a place where a steel Rolex is almost more high-end than one with gold. You know, a Sky Dweller sells for more if it's steel than if it's a two-tone. But suffice it to say that that steel holds its own against gold, which in the past would have been sort of unheard of. And anyway, this person, if he knows that, might go for that sort of professional model, because it's actually in a way more prestigious than the gold watches because of the unattainability. All right, well, that's the non-watch guy. Then there are the watch guys, all right? And they're the guys that focus on a certain model, and they're looking specifically for a sub or a GMT. Now, are they likely to say, you know, I can't get a sub, but I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna get an Omega GMT function watch or a Seiko, Grand Seiko GMT function watch? Well, no, because part of the reason they're going for the GMT is not just the GMT, they're going for they're on the hunt. They're on the hunt for this exclusive, hard to get piece. And part of the reason that these watches work people up is because they're tough to get, and it's a goal. It's a goal, and attaining one is an accomplishment. All right, and to find one, to hunt one down in an AD, it's got to be a kick. I've never experienced it myself, but for the people who have, they get on forums, they write the incoming post, and you can tell they're really excited. Got to be a huge adrenaline rush, and they're not going to get that from just crossing, you know, the department store over to the Omega section, getting a GMT. That's not what it's about. All right, it's about the accomplishment of getting your goal. All right, so That type of person is not going to just head over to get a Seiko or a Tissot or a Breitling or a Longines or an Omega or anything like that. They have their heart set on a GMT, okay? And they may decide to go PreCeramic if they really want the GMT. Now, I've decided to go PreCeramic just because I love the aesthetic. Faced with a ceramic GMT, would I get one? Yes, but I'll tell you right now, it would be gone in 2 hours. I would flip it immediately for the cash. I'm more into the aesthetic of the PreCeramics. That's what I like. But some people, they just like the GMT, whether it's PreCeramic, ceramic, whatever. And so they could always go PreCeramic. But there are others that they have their set sight on a GMT or a sub or a sea dweller or a deep sea, and they're not going to take their money anywhere until they get what they want. And then you've got what I think is the minority. And I've got a few viewers like this, and they're frustrated with Rolex, and they're this close, they say, to jumping ship and going to another brand. I think those people are more the exception than the rule. And I'll tell you why, because I think most people know that if they do that and they go to another brand, they're settling, and nobody really wants to settle. And if you've been around the block and you've settled in your past and you've looked down at your purchase and you realize you're not quite satisfied, then likely you would avoid doing that. And personally speaking, I wouldn't. I mean, I think there's a lot of great watches besides the Rolex brand. But if I really did want, say, a sub, and I couldn't get one, would I settle for an Omega? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would wear, hot as blazes today, by the way. I would wear a low-end watch and continue the hunt, and that would be part of the fun of it. And can you imagine how stoked you would be to finally get that sub? I think most people really want a sub, know that, and for that reason, they don't want to settle. So the people that do, I think they're thinking, you know, I don't really like Rolex that much. The sub's cool. It's got a nice aesthetic, but I sort of like the dive aesthetic in general, and I'm not really that taken with the sub. And so for those people, jumping ship and going to another brand makes total sense. Most people, I think, won't, okay? Most people, I think, will stick with Rolex either because they just want the Rolex name, i.e. the non-watch guy, or they're after a specific Rolex model and they don't want to settle. And they're not adverse to the hunt, and they're not adverse to overcoming this barrier, because that in itself would be pretty satisfying. Will Omega, Breitling, will they make a few sales because of this? I'm sure they will, but I don't think it's something they really want. I think it's a bad situation for them. How can they get out of that? That's probably another video, but I don't think they look at this situation and think, this is great for us. I think we're gonna make a few sales. I think they look at the big picture and they look at what it means for people's perception of them, and the fact that you can find those in stores, but you can't find our competitors' watches in stores. Anyway, let me know what you think. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.